Hello my dear friends. Me David Nolan, with a new history topic in our channel. Clarified, the tale of how North Korea programmers took $81 million from Bangladesh Bank. The BBC has distributed an analytical report specifying how in 2016, North Korean programmers arranged a $1 billion attack on Bangladesh's public bank and practically succeeded. Here's the way it occurred. This week, the BBC distributed an insightful report enumerating how in 2016, North Korean programmers arranged a $1 billion assault on Bangladesh's public bank and for the most part succeeded. The digital heist that came to be known as the Bangladesh bank theft showed how programmers explored the worldwide financial framework, utilizing regulatory escape clauses to execute an all-around arranged assault to move a large number of dollars. It was one of the world's greatest cyberheists. The Bangladesh bank burglary. How the heist occurred. The BBC examination says that the assault occurred between February 4 to 7, 2016. The circumstance was painstakingly wanted to exploit the time contrast among Dhaka and New York City, and working hours in the two urban communities, with likewise an end of the week on various days falling on the date of the heist. The programmers, whom American analytical organizations accept are connected to North Korea, utilized deceitful orders on the SWIFT installments framework to take $951 million United States dollars, which was practically all the cash in that record, from Bangladesh's national financial balance. The programmers utilized a Federal Reserve Bank account in New York and effectively figured out how to take $81 million that was moved to accounts at Manila-based Rizal Commercial Banking Corporation. So how did the programmers really invade Bangladesh Bank's frameworks? The BBC reports focuses to a normal office printer situated inside a exceptionally secure room on the 10th floor of the bank's primary office in Dhaka, that was apparently breaking down. This printer was explicitly used to print exchange records of the bank worth huge number of dollars. On February 5, 2016, bank staff tracked down that the printer wasn't working yet had accepted it was a specialized glitch, one that happened on a regular basis. The BBC report says that examinations later uncovered that this breaking down printer was the principal sign that the programmers had broken into Bangladesh Bank's PC frameworks to take $1 billion United States dollars. At the point when the bank's staff rebooted the printer, they got some exceptionally stressing news. Pouring out of it were dire messages from the Federal Reserve Bank in New York, the Fed, where Bangladesh keeps a US dollar account. The Fed had gotten guidelines, obviously from Bangladesh Bank, to deplete the whole record, near $1 billion, the BBC report says. The bank staff quickly had a go at reaching the Federal Reserve Bank in New York for more data yet couldn't traverse. That was on the grounds that when the programmers had begun their work on February 4 around 2000 hours Bangladesh time, it was morning in New York City. The following day, February 5, was a Friday, the report says, the beginning of the end of the week in Bangladesh, when Bangladesh Bank's base camp in Dhaka is formally shut. When the hack was found in Dhaka, it was at that point the beginning of the end of the week in New York City when workplaces were shut. The itemized arranging of the hack was obvious when examinations uncovered that the programmers purposefully picked that particular week in February 2016 to execute their hack. That weekend likewise turned out to be the beginning of the Lunar New Year in East and Southeast Asia. Thus, on February 8, Monday, when the cash was moved to banks in Manila, it corresponded with the beginning of a significant public occasion there. By abusing time contrasts between Bangladesh, New York and the Philippines, the programmers had designed a reasonable 5-day race to move the cash away, the BBC report clarifies. The report likewise dove into how the programmers had figured out how to get to the printer in Bangladesh Bank's protected room. That happened close to 12 months before the genuine hack, the report says. They had a lot of time to design the entirety of this, since it turns out the Lazarus Group had been sneaking inside Bangladesh Bank's PC frameworks for a year. In January 2015, a harmless-looking email had been shipped off a few Bangladesh Bank workers. It came from a task searcher calling himself Rasail Alam. His amiable inquiry incorporated a challenge to download his CV and introductory letter from a site. In actuality, Rasail didn't exist, he was basically a cover name being utilized by the Lazarus Group, as per FBI examiners, the report says. Somewhere around one individual inside the bank succumbed to the stunt, downloaded the reports, and got contaminated with the infections covered up inside. Once inside the bank's frameworks, the Lazarus Group started subtly bouncing from one PC to another, working their direction towards the advance vaults and the billions of dollars they contained. The real depleting of the records happened just a year after the fact, the report says, in light of the fact that the programmers were arranging the following stages, arranging how to eliminate the cache so that it would not be feasible to recover it. The BBC examination endeavored to bits together the arrangement of occasions after the cash was wired to the Manila banks and not long before they were removed. The RCBC bank office in Manila to which the programmers attempted to move $951 million was in Jupiter Street. There are many banks in Manila that the programmers might have utilized, yet they picked this one, and the choice expensed them countless dollars, the BBC examination says. The exchanges were held up at the Fed in light of the fact that the location utilized in one of the orders incorporated the word Jupiter, which is likewise the name of an endorsed Iranian transportation vessel. This prompted a program looking into of installment moves which were halted due to the forced authorizations. In any case, the BBC examination clarifies that not all exchanges were consequently halted. 5 exchanges, worth $101 million, crossed this obstacle. The programmers would have approached the whole $101 million, that was certainly not a limited quantity, regardless of whether it wasn't what they had initially arranged. As the examination clarifies, of the $101 million, $20 million was moved to a Sri Lanka noble cause called the Shalika Foundation, which had been arranged by the programmers' associates as one cause for the taken cash. But this exchange was additionally halted on the grounds that the programmers had unintentionally made a spelling mistake. They spelled foundation as foundation, when rounding out the Sri Lanka good cause's name. That implies, the programmers just effectively figured out how to move $81 million. Bangladesh Bank's endeavors at recovery ended, even before the BBC examination. By 2019, exploring officers had affirmed that the cash was taken out from the Manila banks, after which it vanished into the club business in the Philippines. The report digs into the unpredictable interaction of tax evasion that was utilized by the programmers to break the chain of recognizability, for which the objective was Manila's gambling clubs. Utilizing club was to break the chain of recognizability. When the taken cash had been changed over into club chips, bet over the tables, and changed once again into cash, it would be practically unthinkable for agents to follow it, the report says. Bangladesh Bank had acknowledged hours after the cash was taken that the enormous heist had occurred and started finding ways to recover it, an interaction that would have been extremely difficult. They figured out how to follow the cash to Manila's club and figured out how to recuperate $16 million from one man, the BBC report says. Yet, the leftover $34 million was all the while vanishing rapidly. Specialists tracked down that amount of the leftover cash was shipped off Macau, another betting area of interest, from where it was moved to North Korea. Specialists tracked down that the greater part of the programmers engaged with the digital heist and other comparable activities that the US views as digital wrongdoings, were situated in Chinese border towns close to the China-North Korea line. Recovering the cash in 2018, the FBI recorded a criminal grumbling charging Park Jin-hyuk, a North Korean resident, for his inclusion in a scheme to direct different ruinous cyber attacks all throughout the planet, bringing about harm to enormous measures of PC equipment, and the broad loss of information, cash and other asset, as indicated by open archives distributed by the U.S. Department of Justice. The objection blamed Park for working for the North Korean government and of participating in pernicious exercises that incorporate the making of the malware utilized. In the 2017 WannaCry 2.0 worldwide ransomware assault, the 2016 burglary of $81 million from Bangladesh Bank, the 2014 assault on Sony Pictures Entertainment (SPE), and various different assaults or interruptions on the amusement, monetary administrations, safeguard, innovation, and virtual cash ventures, the scholarly community, and electric utilities. Around then, the first Assistant United States Attorney Tracy Wilkerson had said that the protest charges individuals from this North Korean-based trick with being liable for cyber attacks that made extraordinary financial harm and disturbance organizations in the United States and all throughout the planet. In 2019, Bangladesh documented a claim in a U.S. court against the Rizal Commercial Banking Corp. (RCBC) over the Philippines bank's supposed job in the greatest digital heist. The RCBC counter-documented a claim against Bangladesh Bank guaranteeing that its standing had gone under a maintained, awful and public assault by the bank and is looking for essentially $1.9 million in harms. The New York Federal Reserve promised to assist Bangladesh with recovery of the cash, however, that interaction is continuous with little advancement. Days after the heist happened, Bangladesh's then, at that point, Finance Serv Ama Mohit, asked Atiur Rahman, who had been legislative head of Bangladesh Bank under whose watch the heist had happened, to leave. The digital heist had colossally humiliated the Bangladesh government. Bangladesh and North Korea share respective relations, and North Korea has an international safe haven in Dhaka. Bangladesh's government office in China addresses the country in Beijing and in Pyongyang.